Hello and welcome to Stampin' by Hannah. Thank you for joining me on Technique Tuesday. Today I am going to make a watercolour background using these lovely inks from Stampin' Up. I've got Daffodil Delight, Delightful Dijon, Pumpkin Pie and Watermelon Wonder here, and I'm going to add each colour individually to my glass top desk. This desk is amazing and the glass top on it just I have no words. So I'm going to add that ink and add some water to it. I've also spritzed my watercolour paper with water as well before I start adding the ink, just to help that ink and water move around. If you wet it first, you'll find that you get the ink moves better. So my watercolour paper is taped down to my desk using post-it tape. Probably not the greatest choice. A painter's tape or a masking tape would probably have been better. But this is what I had on hand at the time. I am going to go and buy some painter's tape though. So I'm going to add that Delightful Dijon, which is a darker yellowy orangey colour. Again onto my wet watercolour paper with my flat brush, and I haven't cleaned my brush up in between. And I'm going to just blend the two colours with some more of the Daffodil Delight colour, just to get it all lovely and inky. This technique looks really messy, and it is when I'm spreading ink about all over the place, but you could just as easily do this one colour at a time using a large acrylic block, and then you wouldn't make as much mess as I have made here. So this is Pumpkin Pie. I'm going to add some water to that as well. Get that water mixed in, and then I'm going to add that straight onto that watercolour paper, blending it with the Delightful Dijon colour that's above it. Oh dear, need to put my teeth back in. I am absolutely loving using water with my Stampin' Up inks at the moment. I think you can get some fabulous effects using the Stampin' Up inks and water. And a lot of the things that you can do with distress inks, you can also do with your Stampin' Up inks as well, which I think is fabulous. So I'm just going to add that Watermelon Wonder colour there at the bottom. Watermelon Wonder is a gorgeous corally orangey reddy pinky colour. Just blending that with some Pumpkin Pie just to make sure it's well blended in. And it's beautiful. It's one of our in colours, as is Delightful Dijon. And I am going to just tidy up a little bit here. Like I said, it's my glass top desk, but I can't, if I leave that ink sat there, I will put my arms in it and my fingers and I'll make an absolute mess. I'm going to use my microfiber cloth just to get that ink and water mixture out of the way. And I'm going to dry this piece of watercolour paper off with my heat tool. My heat tool is not the greatest ever. You're lucky that you can't hear it dying slowly and painfully as I'm drying this. A new one is heading my way really soon because this one is near the end of its life. I'm just going to mop some of that water off of the post-it tape. As you can see, the post-it tape's actually soaked up quite a lot of water, which is why I wouldn't use it again. I taped it down hoping that I would get a nice white, clean, crisp edge around my watercolour piece, and unfortunately that didn't happen because the post-it tape, for all it stuck down my watercolour paper fabulously, it didn't keep that ink from going underneath. So I am just drying this off. As you can see, that Watermelon Wonder colour's gone a sort of pink as it's dried, and I don't know if that's just the way I've applied it or the ink itself, but it has gone a bit pink, so I will be reapplying that. The other reason I tape my watercolour paper down is because it doesn't warp quite so much. If this watercolour paper was free, it would now be a sort of cylinder shape as it took on all the water. As it is, it's nice and flat. So I've got my Watermelon Wonder ink back out again. I'll pop some more of that on my desk and add another spritz of water using my water spritzer. And just add some of that on the bottom of the card, just to take away that kind of pink that appeared as it dried. Just blending that in with the colour above. And I've got the finished card in front of me, and I can't see any of that pink at all. Now I've added that extra Watermelon Wonder onto the top. So I've got a nice hot heat gun here, and this is going to dry the watercolour paper off really, really quickly. And I will, once they're finished drying this, take off the post-it tape. And I found the best way to do this without it doing that and or separating is to peel it back against itself, and that way it doesn't separate and it doesn't rip your paper as it comes up. So as you can see, I've not got a nice clean white border. But I'm going to bring in my grid paper so that glare is gone, and my Stampin' trimmer, just to trim off that white edge, and make a nice crisp edge to my watercolour piece. I'm also going to trim up some basic black cardstock as a mat for this, and my basic black piece is going to measure 14.2 centimetres by 10 centimetres, which is the perfect mat, half a centimetre shorter and narrower than my card base. So I'm going to just get that basic black out of the way, tidy up a little bit. I've turned my watercolour piece the other way up now, so the yellow is at the bottom. I'm going to stamp with Gorgeous Grunge and Best Thoughts. Best Thoughts is one of our hostess sets this year, and it's beautiful. I've got our brand new Archival Basic Grey ink, which is a lovely crisp ink. I could have used black, but I'd wanted something a little bit softer, so I'm going to stamp that lovely flower down, and the Best Is Yet To Come sentiment stamp just down at the bottom. I think this card's going to go up on my mood board and inspiration board, which sits just next to my desk, because I think it's absolutely stunning. Got my Watermelon Wonder again, and that speckled stamp from Gorgeous Grunge, which I'm just going to pop over the bottom half of the card, just to add a little something. I always use Fast Fuse when I'm using watercolour paper, because watercolour paper is that little bit heavier, it needs a stronger adhesive, so I'm going to pop that straight there onto that piece of basic black. And then I've got a Watermelon Wonder card base, which is a piece of A4 cut in half on the short edge, so you have a top folding card. And I'm going to pop that with some dimensionals. Thank you ever so much for watching. As always, the link below takes you directly to the coordinating blog post and onto my Stampin' Up shop, where you can buy all the products that I've used in this video today. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope to see you again really soon. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.